जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजना यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजना यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजना यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी जय कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद इस डिवाइन ग्रेस विश्वगुरु ऐसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी शील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद इस डिवाइन ग्रेस शील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्भागवतम की जय। श्री श्री कृष्ण रुक्मिणी सत्यभामा की जय। श्री श्री गौरनिताय की जय। विश्वगुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 26, Fundamental Principles of Material Nature, verse number 11 to 14. We will chant 11 together, as all these are connected verses. Verse number 11. Panchabhihi, Panchabhihi, Brahma, Panchabir Brahma, Panchabir Brahma, Chaturbhihi, Dashabhihi, Tatha, Chaturbhir Dashabhis Tatha, Chaturbhir Dashabhis Tatha, Etat Chatur Vimshatikam, Etat Chatur Vimshatikam, Etat Chatur Vimshatikam, Ganam Pradhanikam Viduhu, Ganam Pradhanikam Viduhu,
Ganam Pradhanikam Viduhu,
Ganam Pradhanikam Viduhu,
Ganam Pradhanikam Viduhu,
Panchabir Brahma,
Panchabir Brahma,
Chaturbhir Dashabhis Tatha,
Chaturbir Dashabhis Tatha,
Etat Chatur Vimshatikam,
Etat Chatur Vimshatikam,
Ganam Pradhanikam Viduhu,
Ganam Pradhanikam Viduhu,
Panchabir Brahma,
Panchabir Brahma,
Chaturbhir Dashabhis Tatha,
Chaturbir Dashabhis Tatha,
Etat Chatur Vimshatikam,
Etat Chatur Vimshatikam,
Ganam Pradhanikam Viduhu,
Ganam Pradhanikam Viduhu, Panchabir Brahma,
Chaturbhir Dashabhisthatha,
Dashabhisthatha,
Etat Chaturvimshatikam,
Etat Chaturvimshatikam,
Ganam Pradhanikam Viduhu,
Ganam Pradhanikam Viduhu, Panchabir Brahma, Chaturbir Dashabhisthatha, Etat Chaturvimshatikam, Ganam Pradhanikam Viduhu,
Ganam Pradhanikam Viduhu, Panchabir Brahma, Chaturbir Dashabhisthatha,
Chaturbir Dashabhisthatha,
Etat Chaturvimshatikam,
Etat Chaturvimshatikam,
Ganam Pradhanikam Viduhu,
Ganam Pradhanikam Viduhu,
Panchabhihi, with the five
with the five
gross elements.
gross elements,
Panchabhihi,
Panchabhihi,
the five
the five
subtle elements.
subtle elements,
Brahma,
Brahma,
Brahman,
Brahman,
Chaturbhihi,
Chaturbhihi,
the four
the four
internal senses.
internal senses,
Dashabhihi,
Dashabhihi,
the 10,
the 10,
five senses for gathering knowledge,
five senses for gathering knowledge,
and five organs of action.
and five organs of action.
Tatha,
Tata,
in that way.
in that way,
Etat,
Eta,
this. Chatuhu Vimshatikam,
Chaturvimshatikam,
consisting of 24 elements.
consisting of 24 elements,
Ganam,
Ganam,
aggregate.
aggregate,
Pradhanikam,
Pradhanikam,
comprising the pradhana.
comprising the Pradhana,
Viduhu,
Viduhu,
they know.
they know.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
The aggregate elements, namely the five gross elements, the five subtle elements, the 4 internal senses, the 5 senses for gathering knowledge, and the 5 outward organs of action are known as the pradhana. Kindly repeat. The aggregate elements,
The aggregate elements,
namely the 5 gross elements,
namely the 5 gross elements,
the 5 subtle elements,
the 5 subtle elements,
the 4 internal senses,
the 4 internal senses,
the 5 senses for gathering knowledge,
the 5 senses for gathering knowledge,
and the 5 outward organs of action
and the 5 outward organs of action
are known as the pradhana.
are known as the pradhana.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. According to Bhagavad Gita, the sum total of the 24 elements described herein is called the Yonir Mahat Brahma. The sum total of the living entities is impregnated into this Yonir Mahat Brahma, and they are born in different forms, beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant. In the Srimad-Bhagavatam and other Vedic literatures, the sum total of the 24 elements, pradhana, is also described as Yonir Mahat Brahma. It is the source of the birth and subsistence of all living entities. Verse number 12 to 14, I'll read by myself because they are connected to this today's verse, which is explaining what these 5 gross elements are, what are the 5 subtle elements, what are the 4 internal senses, etc. Text number 12. Mahabhutani panchaiva bhurapo agnirmarunnabha tanmatrani chatavanti gandhadini matani me. There are 5 gross elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, and ether. There are also 5 subtle elements, smell, taste, color, touch, and sound. Indriyani dashashrotram tvagdrig rasananasika vakkarau charanau medram payur dashama uchyate. The senses for acquiring knowledge and the organs for action number 10, namely the auditory sense, the sense of taste, the tactile sense, the sense of sight, the sense of smell, the active organ for speaking, the active organs for working, and those for traveling, generating, and evacuating. Text number 14. Mano buddhir ahankaras chittam mityantaratmakam chaturdha lakshyate bhedo vritya lakshana rupaya. Translation. The internal subtle senses are experienced as having 4 aspects in the shape of mind, intelligence, ego, and contaminated consciousness. Distinctions between them can be made only by different functions, since they represent different characteristics. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The 4 internal senses or subtle senses described herein are defined by different characteristics. When pure consciousness is polluted by material contamination, and when identification with the body becomes prominent, one is said to be situated under false ego. Consciousness is the function of the soul, and therefore, behind consciousness, there is soul. Consciousness polluted by material contamination is called ahankara. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om ajnanatimmirandhasya jnananjanashalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam, pangum langhayate girim, yat kripatamaham mande, Shri Gurum Dinataranam. Now, today is the age of AI, artificial intelligence. And all kinds of companies are jumping into the AI bandwagon. Recently, Elon Musk's company has released Grok, that is supposed to be one AI tool. And somebody was a couple of days back about how the response has been from that and all that. And they have done some tweaking in that, according to assess the mood of the person who is interacting with that AI and accordingly reflect those moods in the responses, making it a little more human-like, not just giving out information and data. And then, of course, we have ChatGPT and all this, recently China also released one. What was that? DeepSeek, something like that. India is also developing its own version of the AI. So everybody is jumping into this. Exciting, opening up new avenues. And already we have started seeing the effects or the results or the utilities of the AI. You pick up your phone in the beginning of the day, because of AI, first one notification will come. Relive your memories from same date few years back. Every day on my phone also I pick up, it comes. And then on this day, if today is March 17th in 2010, some photograph you would have taken and stored in this one. Immediately it will pop up that. And on the same date in different years, you would have taken different pictures. It will make a slideshow out of that with nice music, and you can, it will make you nostalgic about, whatever. You will start recalling what happened and all that. Sometimes when we see these pictures, we would have taken pictures of some people. And then we look at those pictures. When I look at those pictures, and then I compare with how those people are today, there will be a difference. Because 15 years have passed, 10 years, 20 years have passed. Natural, no? People will be older, their features would have grown different, etc. Olden days, it used to be different. We used to go to the studio for taking any pictures, and after you go to the studio, all the family will go, we'll all take pictures, and then after 1 week we have to go. They would have taken the film and developed it and all that, and they'll give you the pictures. And we'll take it and paste it into one album. Family photo album will be there. And once in a while, say once in a year, twice in a year, we'll take out that photo album and start seeing how we were as babies, how we were as then in college, how we were. It'll bring back a lot of memories. So all that has been condensed into the now mobile phone that has got its own camera. You don't need a studio, and you can capture and store, and you don't even have to pull out and see. Every day the AI will show you all the pictures from the same date in the previous years. So you can begin your day with nostalgia. So the thing is that when we look at all these photographs, we see that we were children at one point of time, we grow up, we become youth, we become old, and we see this happening with everyone. Constantly, people are undergoing transformation. Of course, we call it growing old. A small baby, when it becomes a young child, we say, oh, the child is growing. And then it becomes a youth, further growth continues to be growing. And then for some days, the person remains as he is. We say middle age. And then old age starts setting in. Now he is growing old. Slowly, face will all become wrinkled and features will start changing. Constantly, transformation is going on in this world with everyone. Nobody is free from this transformation. Interestingly enough, when it comes to living entities, whether it is human beings, animals, plants, there is growth, positive growth. From a small form, the entity grows into a bigger form, and there is development of the faculties. So it is positive growth. And then after a certain point, it stays for some time and then slowly starts dwindling. This is one kind of transformation that happens, where there is positive transformation happening, but eventually it will turn into decline. And then you have material lifeless objects. These lifeless objects will never undergo positive transformation. You take any object, even if you take a piece of steel and keep it here, you will see it will start rusting, and slowly after some time, over a period of time, it will rust, especially in Chennai, the rust rate is very high. So very quickly you will see the rust started forming, and gradually the steel will become weak, and eventually it will all completely corrode and go away. So when it comes to lifeless objects, there is no positive growth. There is only decline, but that is also one kind of transformation. So nothing in this material world remains as it is. It is always in a constant state of flux. There is always transformation going on. And so that is why the scientists, at one point of time, they had this theory of steady state, that this universe was always like this. It is eternally like this. There is no question of creation, so there is no need of any God because it is eternally like this. But eventually, their mathematical equations proved that this universe is not constant. It also has a certain time at which it has come into existence, and it's not going to last eternally. It will end one day. So they have realized, not only at the individual level, at whatever level we are able to see on this planet, even at the cosmological level, constant transformation is going on. So now this transformation, when we look at this transformation, how the earth or how this universe came into being. Now that means there was a point of time when the universe was not there. At a certain point of time, it came into existence. Now up to this much, the Vedic, whatever knowledge is there, and the scientists, they concur. There was a point of time when the universe did not exist. The universe came into existence at a certain point of time, and after a certain duration, it will end. Now, the Vedic science, Vedic knowledge may say that there is what is the time period at which the earth came into existence, and what is the process by which it came into existence. Science, modern science may have a different outlook. It may say, no, we differ in terms of the time scale and the process of creation. According to modern science, there was a big bang, and then this whole creation came into existence. Now the point is, whether you accept the Vedic science perspective or the knowledge from the Vedic science or the modern science, the material world came into being. But the question is, when it came into being as a solid mass. There was no differentiation, there were no varieties. Gradually with time, even modern science accepts this. Gradually with time, over millions of years, slowly galaxies were formed, planets were formed, and then within the planet, especially Earth, slowly life, amino acids, proteins, they came into existence. And gradually they got together, and the first unicellular organism came into being. And then slowly it became multicellular, blah, 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 all those things. So you see how even modern science, this is what Vedic science also tells, Vedic knowledge also tells, initially there was just a lump of matter, which is called Mahat Tattva. It was undifferentiated total mass, like the example we discussed in the last class. What was the example? Dosa mavu. Like the dosa batter, right? It is undifferentiated. Later you can make idli with that, you can make uttapam, you can make dosa, all varieties will come out of that. But originally it is all in an undifferentiated state. So that Mahat Tattva is a lump of matter which is undifferentiated. Later, those differentiations happened. Shri Krishna, Rukmini, Satyabhama ki jai. Later the differentiations happened, and like it is being mentioned here, when the differentiations happened, 24 elements came into existence. What are the 24 elements? The 24 elements, it is described that Panchabihi Brahma. First, the 5 elements. What are the 5 elements? The 5 gross elements. Earth, water, fire, air, and space. These 5 came into existence. Then another 5. The next set of 5 is the 5 subtle elements. What are the 5 subtle elements? Form, taste, sound, touch, smell. These are the subtle elements. Then Chaturbihi, the 4 internal senses. Mind, intelligence, false ego, contaminated consciousness, material consciousness. These 4, so it became Panchabihi, Brahma, Chaturbir. 5 plus 5 plus 4, 14. Then Dashabihi, the 10, 5 knowledge acquiring senses, eyes, nose, tongue, ears, skin. These 5 constitute the knowledge acquiring senses, and then there are the 5 working senses, the senses with which we perform work. Hands, legs, voice, genitals, rectum. These are the senses for carrying out activities. So, Dashabihi, 10. 14 plus 10, it becomes 24. So, the Mahat Tattva originally constituted these 24 elements in an undifferentiated form. And later, due to the action of Prakriti, in Prakriti, all these 24 elements become differentiated. And these differentiated elements further combine in various proportions to form all the forms that we see in this world. Whether planets, mountains, plants, trees, aquatics, birds, animals, human beings, the devatas, all these things are ultimately made up of these 24 elements only. You don't have anything beyond this. So, this is what Vedic science talks about. Now, modern science, what it says, it has got its own explanation. But now the question that comes is, whether you take modern science or Vedic science, both of them accept there was undifferentiated matter, and then variety started manifesting after that. Question comes, what impelled change to happen? What impelled that differentiation to happen? Because even science also accepts behind every activity, energy is required and force is required. Without energy and force, no action can happen. So at the cosmic scale, at the universal scale, such big activity is happening. Planets are getting formed, galaxies are getting formed. Imagine the amount of energy and force that is required to bring about these changes. Now, science does not question this. They do not question what is that force which is making this differentiation happen. They will only study with their mathematical equations. Differentiation happened. How it happened? Amino acids, proteins, this, that, blah, 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 all that they will say. And they will say force of entropy and so many things. They will say force of gravitation. But then these forces did not pop out of thin air. You can say, okay, there was no matter, there was a bang and matter formed. But not only matter, force and energy also were produced. Where did force and energy come from? So, so modern science has no answer for this. They do not dwell into this. They do not ask this question at all. But Vedic science states that for this differentiation of Mahat Tattva to happen into these 24 elements and become Prakriti, because in Mahat Tattva it is just non-differentiated matter. When the differentiation happens into 24 elements, it's called Prakriti. And even more subtle than Mahat Tattva is the original Pradhana, energetic Pradhana, which is unmanifested, Avyakta, that we have seen in the previous verse, in the discussion on the previous verse. So, Prakriti is the final stage where the differentiation into 24 elements has happened and all the different varieties of forms that we see in this material manifestation have come into existence. Now, the Vedic science says that all this differentiation, Mahat Tattva, which is non-differentiated, for it to transform into the 24 different elements which has been described in today's verse, the cause is actually the three modes of material nature. The mode of passion, the mode of ignorance, and the mode of goodness. Sattoguna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna. These three modes interact with Mahat Tattva, the undifferentiated total matter, and they impel it to further differentiate into the 24 elements. And then from there, Prakriti will manifest all the varieties that we see. So the action of the three modes of material nature, although it is going on and causing constant transformation within this material world, that process of transformation has still not stopped. As I explained in the beginning, that you see in this material world, constantly transformation is going on. For living entities, there is a positive transformation we call growth, and then for material elements which have no life, there is constant degradation. Either way, constant transformation is going on. Nothing is permanent or eternal in this material world. So why? Because constantly the three modes of material nature are impelling, or continuously they are forcing the change to keep on happening, transformation to keep on happening. So even in our everyday life, we can see these transformations happening. Modern science also accepts. They say the process of growing of a human being or an animal or a plant is, so many things are happening, cells are growing, multiplying, all those things they say. But the phenomenon of transformation, what is causing it to happen? That question science does not ask. Science only studies transformation is happening. How it is happening? Okay, we'll explain that. But what is causing that phenomenon of the fundamental phenomenon of transformation itself to happen? Science doesn't question. But Vedas, they question. What is the cause of this? What is the cause of transformation? The cause of transformation is the constant interaction of the three modes of material nature with this manifested material world. So, because the three modes of material nature are constantly acting in every walk of life, therefore, constantly transformation is going on. Now, these three modes of material nature, we don't stop there. The Vedas don't stop there. They ask, what is causing these three modes of material nature to act like this? From where have these three modes of material nature got the power to bring about such transformation? Even from the atomic level to the universal level, transformation are constantly going on at every level. So, from where the three modes of material nature have become so powerful, that Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Maya Adhyakshena Prakritihi Suyate Sacharacharam. Behind those three modes of material nature is Krishna. And because the three modes of material nature and the Mahat Tattva, Pradhana, all these things are the energy of Krishna, the material energy of Krishna. Therefore, under his superintendence, all these actions are going on, these transformations are going on. So now somebody may question that if this is the case, why is modern science not able to find this out? They can also analyze, no, they have found out so much. How even this body, how the cells are multiplying and they are growing, and the white blood corpuscles and the red blood corpuscles and all these things, and how growth is happening. They have figured all this out. How they are not able to see the three modes of material nature behind this. And even if some Gyanis, they may be able to figure out the influence of the three modes of material nature. But behind it, there is Krishna. They'll never be able to get to that point. Why? Because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that Tribir Gunamayair Bhavair Ebihi Sarvamidam Jagat Mohitam Nabhijanati Mamebhyaha Paramavyayam. That this entire material world, because it is influenced by the three modes of material nature, the three modes of material nature cover the knowledge of the living entity. Therefore, we cannot see beyond the three modes of material nature. A jnani may come up to the point, scientists have come to the point of they are only studying the effects, some causes and effects within this material universe. Beyond that, they are not able to go. But a jnani, by studying the Vedas, Upanishads, mental speculation, he may come to understand that no, beyond this there is the influence of the three modes of material nature. But beyond that he cannot go. Why? Because even the scientist, even the philosopher, all of them are under the influence of the three modes of material nature. So therefore they cannot surpass the influence of the three modes of material nature, and hence they cannot see beyond them. This is the reality. So if you want to see the ultimate cause, which is Krishna, Ishwaraha Paramaha Krishnaha Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govindaha. Krishna is the Adi, he is the cause of all causes. Now if you ask what caused or who is the cause of Krishna? Krishna is Anadi, he is the ultimate cause. Beyond him there is no more cause. So we have to come to that point. To come to that point, what is required? Samashrita ye padapallava plavam Mahat padam punya yasho murarehe Bhavambudir vatsa padam param padam 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 yadvipadam natesham. This verse was spoken by Shukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj in the 10th canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Shukadeva Goswami explains to Parikshit Maharaj, Samashrita ye padapallava plavam. Those who have taken shelter of the pallava, of the boat, of the padapallava, of the boat of the lotus feet of Krishna, Punya Yasho Murarehe, Murari. Those who have taken shelter of the boat of the lotus feet of Krishna. And who is that Krishna? Mahat Padam Punya Yasho Murarehe. That Krishna is the Supreme Lord at whose lotus feet, Mahat Padam, at whose lotus feet Mahat Tattva is resting. In other words, the entire cosmic manifestation is resting at the lotus feet of Krishna. In other words, Krishna is the source of this material manifestation. He is the source of Pradhana, he is the source of Mahat Tattva, he is the source of the three modes of material nature, he is the cause of all of that. So those who have taken shelter of the lotus feet of that Murari, whose glories are the most auspicious and the most pious, Punya Yasho Murarehe, one who takes shelter of the lotus feet of that Murari Krishna, what happens? Bhavambudir Vatsa Padam. This Bhavambudhi, this material world, which is the place of repeated birth and death. This is the place of constant transformation. Although we all want eternity, we want stability, we want that things should remain as they are within this material world. But nothing remains the same. Everything undergoes transformation. Constant change. Although we don't want change, but we are helplessly forced to accept change. Change is imposed upon us. We don't want change, but constantly we have to undergo change, transformation. So, this Bhava Loka, this place, this material world, which is a place of transformation, constant change, which is epitomized by the repeated birth and death that we have to undergo. So that is like a big ocean, vast ocean. Why is it compared to an ocean? Because no matter how expert a swimmer you are, if you fall into the middle of the ocean, there is no way you can escape. How much ever expert swimmer you are, you cannot survive. Because crossing the ocean is humanly impossible. You need someone to come in a boat and pick you up and put you into the boat. Only then you can have a chance of survival. Otherwise, there is no question of survival. So, this material world is like that. Everybody has to undergo transformation, epitomized by birth and death. And in between, there is old age and disease. Constantly transformation is going on like this. Change is going on. So, if we have to overcome this world of impermanence, world of constant change, world of constant transformation, and attain a state where no change happens eternally, I am existing, I am not forced to undergo the changes which I don't wish to undergo, then it is practically not possible. No matter how much you may advance in science, technology, all these things you may advance, but it's not possible to stop the change. So there is one billionaire in the US. He has now doing a lot of experimentation how to stop aging. And he is spending billions of dollars. He has got a battery of doctors, and they are constantly injecting him with various chemicals and medicines and all kinds of things to keep him young. But you will see, eventually he will also become old, and one day he will also die. He also can, no matter how much science and technology develops, you cannot stop this change, constant change that is going on. Birth, death, disease, and old age. It is impossible. So no matter how powerful science and technology may become, no matter how much money we may have, no matter how much economically developed we may be, militarily developed we may be, how much strong we may be, you can do all kinds of things, but you cannot stop the constant transformation within this material world. So, therefore, because it is impossible to stop the process of transformation within this material world, it is called an ocean. On your own, you cannot stop. You cannot bring time to a standstill and say, now no more, time is progressing and everything will remain as it is, no more change. You cannot do that. It's impossible. Therefore, it is compared to an ocean into which if you fall, there is no way of getting out of it. So, does that mean that there is no hope for all of us in this material world? No, there is hope. Because just like even if you fall into the ocean, if there is a boat, then you can survive. So, that boat which can save us from this bhavambudhi, this ocean of this material world, is what? That's the lotus feet of Krishna. And the greatness of this lotus feet of Krishna is such that once you take shelter of the boat of the lotus feet of Krishna, what happens? This bhavambudhi, this ocean of material world of birth and death, it becomes vatsapadam. It becomes like the water contained in the hoof print of a calf. Now, for crossing over the water in the hoof print of a calf, you don't need a Titanic ship, right? You don't even need a boat. You can just easily jump over it. Effortlessly, you can cross over it. So, it is said that the great elevated souls who are devotees, who have rendered devotional service, bhakti yoga to Krishna, they have taken shelter of the boat of the lotus feet of Krishna, and they have crossed over this ocean of birth and death. And they have crossed over the ocean of birth and death and gone to the spiritual world. So what happened to the boat of the lotus feet of Krishna? They have taken it and crossed the ocean. Now I am on the other side of the ocean. So how do I cross over? Although they have taken shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, the boat of the lotus feet of Krishna, the moment they take shelter of the boat of the lotus feet of Krishna, that ocean becomes reduced to the size of a hoof print. So the great souls, what they do, the Mahatmas, they leave the boat behind and they cross over and go. So that boat of the lotus feet of Krishna is available for all of us conditioned souls also. And by taking shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, what happens? Bhavambudir vatsapadam parampadam. We can achieve the ultimate shelter of the parampadam, the ultimate abode, which is the spiritual world, Vaikuntha. And what is the significance of that Vaikuntha? Padam padam yad vipadam na tesham. Those who have transcended this material world and reached that spiritual world, for them, padam padam yad vipadam na, they don't have to undergo repeated dangerous situations within this material world. All of us have to constantly face danger within this material world. We are all constantly in that endeavor to protect ourselves from all kinds of dangers which constantly keep harassing us. This is our condition within this material world. But the moment we take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, these dangers of the material world, and the biggest danger of the material world is repeated birth and death. So these dangers no more bother a devotee of Krishna. And so therefore, we have to, the only way to become free from the influence of the three modes of material nature and overcome this environment of constant change and transformation is to take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. So, Kapila Deva, therefore, he is wanting to bring us to that point that we have no choice other than to surrender to the lotus feet of Krishna. To bring us to that point, first, there is an analysis of how this material creation has happened. So that when we analyze the material creation, and through Sankhya Yoga, we analyze what are the elements which are bringing about this creation, we come to the 24 elements, which are the basis of this of the variegated manifestations within this material world. And behind that there is the Mahat Tattva, behind that there is the Pradhana, in between there are the three modes of material nature which are bringing about all the changes. Now in the midst of all this, where am I? Which of these 24 elements am I? That's the important question Kapila Deva wants to raise through Sankhya Yoga. You analyze this entire material manifestation. Scientists are also analyzing in a different way. And they are constantly searching, where is life, where is life, where is life? Is it in the atom? Is it in the electron? Is it in the amino acid? Is it in the protein? Where is it? This is their constant search. So whether you go through Sankhya Yoga, analyzing into 24 elements, like what Kapila Deva has described today, or you take the help of modern science and go into the microscopic detail, both of them are searching where is life, where is prana. That you will not find within these material elements. That is the goal of Sankhya Yoga, to bring us to understand this entire material manifestation. You analyze, you can differentiate into these fundamental 24 elements. There is nothing other than this. But you are different from all of this. You are none of this. We belong to a different category. Aparayam prakritim viddhim. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that there is this material nature consisting of these 24 elements is one sort of prakriti. It is one kind of energy. Aparayam itastvanyam prakriti viddhimem param. There is anya, there is another prakriti which is para, which is superior to this material manifestation, material energy comprising these 24 elements. What is that? Jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. That is the living entity. The living entity is completely different from all this, and it is superior to all these 24 elements. Whether it's in its differentiated state of 24 elements or undifferentiated Mahat Tattva or Pradhana you take, the living entity is beyond all these things. And so therefore, the living entity has an existence which is beyond even the mind, intelligence and false ego and consciousness. That is why even consciousness becomes part of these, is included in this list of 24 elements. Although consciousness originally is not material, but still consciousness itself is not the soul. Consciousness is the energy of the soul, of the Atma. So Atma fundamentally, if you see, is different even from consciousness. Although you cannot differentiate the two like that. So to be able to see, perceive all these things, being under the influence of the three modes of material nature, Tribir Gunabayir Bhavair, Ebihi Sarvamidam Jagat. When we are under the influence of the three modes of material nature, we cannot see beyond the three modes of material nature. So the material scientists, because they are completely under the control of the three modes of material nature, they are not able to see beyond it. Just like this whole room has become illuminated. It is illuminated why? Because of sunlight, isn't it? Now we all know that we are, there is so much light within this room because of sunlight. Now if we search within this room, where is the sun? Where is the sun? Where is the sun? Can you see? You cannot find. Because the sun is not within this room. Sunshine is there. But sun is not within this room. Sun is beyond, far beyond, above the sky. So if you want to see the sun, you have to go out of this room. As long as you are enclosed within this room, you cannot see the sun. Similarly, as long as we are under the influence of the three modes of material nature, we cannot see beyond that. Only when we transcend the three modes of material nature, we can see, oh, behind this Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam, Krishna is there. Krishna is there behind this material manifestation, and that's why so much transformation and activities are going on within this material world. We'll be able to see this. Now, how do we come to that? How do we overcome the three modes of material nature? Because the three modes, we are steeped inside the three modes of material nature. How do we overcome? So to overcome that, we need the help of someone who is already beyond the three modes of material nature. Just like if we are fallen into the ocean, to get out of the ocean, on my own it is not possible. Somebody sitting in a boat already outside the ocean, he has to come, extend his hand and pull me out. So that person who can pull us out of this influence of the three modes of material nature, that person who is beyond the influence of the three modes of material nature, that person who is a transcendental person, who is coming from the spiritual world, is the spiritual master. So Srila Prabhupada, if we take shelter of him as our Diksha Guru, as our initiating spiritual master, then we have hope of being able to overcome the influence of the three modes of material nature, see beyond it, and see how Krishna is the ultimate cause of everything, and he is beyond the influence of the three modes of material nature. Otherwise, as Krishna says, Tribir Gunamayer Bhavai Rebi Sarvamidam Jagat, Mohitam Nabhijanati, Mam Ebhyaha Param Avyayam. To understand that Krishna is not like us, he is not under the influence of the three modes of material nature. He is Param and Avyayam. He never undergoes transformation. This material universe is Vyaya, constantly undergoing transformation, deterioration, degradation and change. But Krishna and Krishna's body, Krishna's personality, Krishna's knowledge, Krishna's youth, Krishna's beauty, nothing ever changes. It is constant, Avyayam. Why? Because Krishna is Param, Mamebhya Param Avyayam. Krishna is beyond the influence of the three modes of material nature. So, to be able to understand Krishna's position, we might all have been Hindus, we might have been going to temples, we might have visited Krishna temples also. But before we came in touch with Prabhupada's books, where did we have the knowledge or understanding that Krishna is the cause of all causes, that he is beyond this material world, he is beyond the influence of the three modes of material nature? We did not know any of these things. It is only after taking shelter of Prabhupada's lotus feet that we have understood all these things. So therefore, to be able to perceive this is one thing, and to be able to transcend this and go beyond this is totally another thing. So both things, to be able to perceive Krishna's position, our position, and to be able to see beyond the influence of the three modes of material nature, beyond the covering of ignorance which is imposed upon us by the three modes of material nature, to be able to see beyond that, and to be able to cross that, to transcend that and go to the spiritual world. For both these things, the shelter of the lotus feet of a pure devotee, who to take shelter of such a pure devotee as our Diksha Guru, that is the only process by which we can be able to achieve this. To be able to perceive the reality and to go to the spiritual world, to become liberated. So therefore, we have to take shelter of Srila Prabhupada as our Diksha Guru and accept transcendental instructions from him and serve his mission, his lotus feet, and then we can also become transcendental, and we can cross over the ocean of material birth and death with great ease, just like crossing over the water in the hoof print of a calf, and we can achieve the lotus feet of Krishna. So I'll stop here. Grantharaj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.